Go ahead then. Fire her up. The voice dripped with the kind of condescending amusement that only a young technician drunk on his own self-importance could muster. Lieutenant Travis Chen gestured dismissively toward the FA-18 Super Hornet, its sleek, predatory form gleaming under the harsh carrier deck lights. "Show us how it's done, ma'am." The pause before "ma'am." "Go ahead then, fire her up." The voice dripped with the kind of condescending amusement that only a young technician drunk on his own self-importance could muster. Lieutenant Travis Chen gestured dismissively toward the FA-18 Super Hornet, its sleek, predatory form gleaming under the harsh carrier deck lights. "Show us how it's done, ma'am." The pause before "ma'am" was deliberate, mocking. Captain Rachel Morrison, 32 years old, said nothing. She stood beside the aircraft's nose landing gear, her hand resting lightly on the cool metal strut. The Pacific wind whipped across the deck of the USS Theodore Roosevelt, making the air thick with salt and jet fuel. She wore a faded green flight jacket, worn leather cracked at the elbows, despite the humidity. A small crowd of young sailors and aviators, on break during the carrier's family day tour, had gathered. They exchanged uncertain glances, caught between the discomfort of witnessing a woman being publicly belittled and the ingrained reluctance to challenge an officer. Chen smirked, playing to his audience. "Come on now, you were telling these guys all about your glory days, how you used to fly combat missions." He pointed a manicured finger at the complex glass cockpit displays visible through the canopy. "Or is all that fancy tech a bit too advanced for someone who's been riding a desk?" Rachel's eyes, sharp, calculating green, remained fixed on the aircraft. She wasn't looking at the cockpit. She was looking at the weapons pylons under the wings, at the faded scorch marks near the right engine intake that maintenance could never quite buff out. She could feel it, the bone-jarring kick of launching off a carrier deck at night. The screaming alarms when the SA-15 missile locked onto her, the smell of burning hydraulic fluid filling her oxygen mask. "Lieutenant," one of the younger sailors started, a hint of protest in his voice. "Stay out of it, sailor," Chen snapped. "The captain here wants to tell war stories. She should be able to back them up." He stepped closer, his shadow falling over Rachel. "What's the matter? Forget which button starts the engine?" He chuckled at his own joke, then jabbed a thumb toward a worn patch on her jacket, a stylized angel wing wrapped around a crescent moon, stitched in silver thread against desert tan fabric. "What's that supposed to be? Your book club logo?" Rachel's gaze finally shifted from the jet to the lieutenant. She didn't look angry. She didn't look humiliated. She looked patient, like a teacher waiting for a student to finish embarrassing himself. She looked at his polished boots, his crisp, spotless flight suit, the shiny gold bars on his collar that had never seen a single combat deployment. She saw a man who wore wings but had never felt them burn. "The auxiliary power unit requires a ground crew safety check before engine start," Rachel said quietly, her voice a low, steady tone, not to Chen, but to the aircraft itself. "Hydraulic pressure needs to stabilize at 3,000 psi. You don't just fire her up." The technical accuracy seemed to throw Chen off balance for a moment. He recovered quickly, his smirk returning. "Oh, we've got a real expert here." He changed his tone, adopting the loud, patronizing cadence of someone speaking to a child. "Look, Captain, this is a restricted area. The aircraft is a static display for the event. I'm going to need you to step back and let my people do their jobs." He crossed his arms. "This is a very expensive, very dangerous fighter jet. We can't have personnel climbing all over it." The implication was clear. You don't belong here. Rachel's hand dropped from the landing gear. A stillness settled over her, the kind of absolute calm that precedes a storm. She had been invited by the carrier's air boss as one of the original squadron pilots. She had wandered to the flight line simply to see the machine that had been her weapon, her shield, her partner through the most harrowing nights of her life. until Chen had appeared, his ego unable to tolerate his junior sailors giving their attention to a woman. "I'm not personnel," Rachel said quietly. Chen let out a short, incredulous laugh. "Right, and I'm the Secretary of Defense." His voice hardened. "Ma'am, show me your visitor credentials, now." The demand hung in the air like a threat. The crowd was larger now. Families, off-duty crew, all drawn by the confrontation. Chen was enjoying this. He saw a simple matter of enforcing regulations, putting an overly confident woman in her place. He had no idea he was standing in front of a ghost. As Rachel's hand moved toward her jacket pocket, the worn angel patch seemed to shimmer in her vision. The oppressive heat of the carrier deck was replaced by the freezing black of a Syrian night sky at 20,000 feet. The radar warning screamed in her helmet. "Viper, you've got 2 SA-15s tracking. Brake left." Rachel's hand slammed the stick, rolling the Super Hornet into a punishing 9G turn. The night sky over Raqqa exploded in orange tracers. Below, she could see them, the convoy of fleeing civilian vehicles, trapped between ISIS fighters and a collapsing bridge. She could smell the acrid smoke seeping into her mask, taste the metallic tang of adrenaline, hear the high-pitched tone of the missile lock growing louder, louder. Her thumb found the chaff dispenser. Thump, thump, thump. Aluminum strips bloomed into the sky like deadly fireworks. The missile detonated 60 feet behind her right engine. The shockwave hit like a freight train. Alarms shrieked. The right engine flamed out. Hydraulics screamed. But she didn't eject. Below were 300 civilians, women, children, families who trusted the American pilot's radio broadcast promising safe passage. Her left hand nursed the crippled jet into a shuddering orbit. Her right hand, slick with blood from shrapnel that had punched through the canopy, keyed the radio. "Hammerhead, this is Viper. I'm staying on station. Mark my targets." She fired every AGM-655 Maverick she had, one by one, surgical strikes on the enemy gun positions. She flew that dying jet for 42 minutes, clearing the road until every single vehicle made it across the bridge. Then, and only then, did she nurse the jet back, landing on fumes with one engine and half her hydraulics, and a wing on fire. Rachel's eyes refocused on Chen's arrogant face. She'd heard enough. One of the sailors in the crowd, aviation electrician's mate second-class Martinez, had been watching with growing horror. He was a history buff. He knew the hull numbers of legendary aircraft. He knew the stories. And when he saw the woman in the angel patch standing next to FA-18, Bureau number 166897, the same jet in the Smithsonian's digital archive under Syrian humanitarian corridor mission, a forgotten piece of Fleet Week training clicked in his mind. He didn't know her face, but he knew the call sign. Viper. While Chen puffed his chest and demanded credentials, Martinez slipped away from the crowd. He pulled out his phone and called the one person who would understand the gravity of what was happening. Master Chief Petty Officer Reyes, the carrier's Command Master Chief. "Master Chief, this is Martinez from VFA 102. Sir, you need to get to the flight deck, now. Lieutenant Chen is publicly harassing a female officer by Jet 166897. She's wearing an Angel of Raqqa patch." There was dead silence on the other end. Then, "Do not let that lieutenant move her. I'm bringing the Admiral." Inside the carrier's flag bridge, Master Chief Reyes didn't knock. He burst into the office of Rear Admiral Patricia Hawkins, a woman with ice in her veins and fire in her reputation. "Ma'am, you need to see this." He pulled up the Navy's digital archives on his tablet. A photo appeared. A younger woman, face streaked with soot and blood, grinning exhaustedly beside a smoking FA-18. Caption, LCDR Rachel Morrison, VFA 102, Diamondbacks, Operation Inherent Resolve, 2018. Single-handedly defended civilian convoy evacuation under hostile fire.
awarded Navy Cross. The Admiral's face went through rapid transformation. Confusion, comprehension, then cold, weaponized fury. "Get the command vehicle, clear the deck, and get me a direct line to that Lieutenant CO, now." Back on the flight deck, Chen had reached peak hubris. "That's it, I've had enough." He gestured to two sailors. "Get the master-at-arms. We've got a trespasser who needs to be escorted off this ship." He added, voice dripping with spite, "and tell them to have medical on standby. This woman clearly needs a psych eval." The threat was the final nail in his coffin. A collective gasp rippled through the crowd. Rachel finally met his eyes, and for the first time, Chen saw something other than patience. He saw the fire that had held a crippled jet in the sky while 300 lives depended on it. It was at that precise moment that a siren wailed across the deck. Not security, the Admiral's command vehicle. A black SUV tore onto the deck, emergency lights flashing, skidding to a halt yards from the Super Hornet. The doors flew open. Rear Admiral Hawkins emerged, her face a thundercloud. She didn't glance at the crowd. Her eyes found Rachel Morrison and locked on. Master Chief Reyes was half a step behind, followed by the air boss and 3 senior officers moving with the disciplined urgency of a 5-alarm crisis. The crowd fell into dead, reverent silence. Chen stared, mouth agape. The Admiral strode past Chen like he was invisible. She marched directly to Rachel, stopped 3 feet away, and drew herself to full height. Then she snapped the sharpest, most respectful salute Chen had ever witnessed. "Captain Morrison," the Admiral's voice boomed across the silent deck, "it is an honor to have you on my flight deck, ma'am." Rachel looked at the Admiral's stars, gave a slow, weary nod, and returned the salute. The Admiral turned to address the entire crowd. "For those unaware," her voice rang with power, "you are in the presence of Captain Rachel Morrison, United States Navy, though she's far too humble to tell you herself." She gestured to the Super Hornet. "This jet, Bureau number 166897, is her aircraft. Captain Morrison, call sign Viper, flew this airframe for over 1,800 hours, nearly half in combat." Awe rippled through the crowd. During Operation Inherent Resolve, Captain Morrison was credited with 17 confirmed ISIS vehicle kills, 12 defensive counter-air engagements, and the single-handed protection of a 300-person civilian convoy. The Admiral pointed directly at the Angel patch, and this patch, Lieutenant Chen, was given to her by the refugees she saved, after she stayed on station with a dead engine, on fire, refusing to abandon them. She paused. "She landed this jet with catastrophic damage. She refused to eject because the crash site would have been over a populated area." The story hung in the air. Chen looked like he was about to faint. The Admiral's glare could have melted steel. "Lieutenant Chen, you will report to my office at 0600 in service dress. You will explain why you publicly humiliated a Navy Cross recipient. You will explain your failure of leadership, judgment, and basic human decency. Am I understood?" "Yes, Admiral," Chen whispered. The Admiral turned back to Rachel, her expression softening. "Ma'am, on behalf of this entire carrier battle group, I apologize for the disrespect shown to you today." Rachel spoke calmly, her voice carrying wisdom that made everyone lean in. "He's young, Admiral. He sees the rank, the rules, the present. He doesn't see the people who bled for the privileges he enjoys. He looks at this jet and sees a machine. He doesn't see the lives it carried, the people it saved." She looked at the young sailors. "Respect isn't just about the uniform you wear. It's about remembering everyone who wore it before you. Without that memory, you're just playing dress-up." In the weeks that followed, Lieutenant Chen was formally reprimanded and quietly transferred to shore duty, his career effectively over. Admiral Hawkins instituted mandatory heritage training for all junior officers, with Captain Morrison's story as the opening case study. The Navy officially dedicated Bureau number 166897, mounting a bronze plaque beneath the cockpit detailing the heroic service of the jet and its legendary pilot. About a month later, Rachel was sitting in a small cafe near the base reading a book. The door opened. A man in civilian clothes walked in, shoulders slumped, face tired. Former Lieutenant Chen. He saw her, froze, then slowly walked to her table. "Ma'am," he began, voice stripped of arrogance, "they made me read your entire service jacket, every mission report, every citation." He swallowed hard. "I just wanted to say thank you for your service, and I'm sorry." It wasn't groveling. It was understanding, a lesson learned the hardest way. Rachel nodded once, acknowledgement, closure. She went back to her book, and the younger man, after a moment, turned and left. On the carrier's flight deck, Petty Officer Martinez now takes new sailors out to Bureau number 166897. He points to the plaque, then to the scorch marks on the right engine, and he tells them the story of the day a living legend returned to her jet and reminded an entire carrier what true valor looks like. If this story moved you, hit that subscribe button and share it with someone who honors our veterans. Drop a comment below. Have you ever witnessed quiet courage that changed everything?